Okay, and we should be live. We should be. You alright, Chris? Not so bad, not bad at all. Welcome to the channel. I'm Chris Furrest, and this is, well, Fleur as I'm known, and this is Scurr. Today we'll be discussing some Doctor Who political talk about the 13th Doctor and the announcement that it was a woman. We're going to share our thoughts on it, what we think our thoughts for the character should be, and obviously the reaction to it as well, like the political reaction from both the left and the right with regards to the appointments, because it has been something of a controversial story in the media. It hasn't been fully accepted by the fan base, it hasn't been fully accepted by some other pundits on the media, so we thought we'd discuss that today and have a look at the way things have gone and how it's been discussed. So anyway, I'll let Chris introduce himself. Say hello, buddy. Well, yeah, let's just crack on with it then, I suppose. So I think the best place for us to start really on this is probably our own thoughts on this. And obviously, we're good friends. We go back quite a way, and we've obviously, when this was announced, we were discussing it quite a lot in ourselves privately. Hold on a minute, I'm just going to check if the stream's running. I suppose I really should, really. Just double check. It's probably a good idea, isn't it? Let's be honest. I hope so. Anyway, let's have a look. It's saying live, so it's. I think we've got it here. I just hope it's picking the sound up. If someone's in the chat, could you leave us? If somebody's watching and somebody's in the chat, could somebody please tell us if our sound's working? Because I tested all of this. I tested all this the other day. I just wanted to make sure it was all working. Although it's looking like the sound's on mute according to this. Yeah, it's working, it's working. I've just tested it now. I'll leave it muted on my end. So. Yeah, yes we were, yes we were. I'll let you start if you want, buddy. I know you're a bit more excited about it than me, I think. I think we've got to give her a first shout, but I'm a little bit more reserved, a little bit more sceptical. Not on regards of the gender change, because obviously that's been canonised by Moffat. It's more the writing I'm sceptical on. Like the choice, I'm happy with. I haven't really seen much of Jodie Whittaker and everything. I'm aware that she was in Broadchurch, and the only thing I've seen her in was Saint Trinian's about 10 years ago, I think, when I was a kid. Like. I can't remember much about her, really. Oh, she was in Black Mirror? Oh, yeah! God, I forgot she was in that. Hmm. I think it's gonna be. I think a lot of people will have that preconceived notion that she won't be able to play dark. But to be honest, I wouldn't mind seeing a sort of femme fatale approach. To be honest, I think the Doctor as a femme fatale would work in an incredibly. I mean, it would be really cool, but I think it'd be difficult to pull off. But I think it would work. Like, you could do dark as a woman, as through a female Doctor. I think you could, if you went for that sort of approach. Like, the whole idea that, like, she'll, like, trick people, like, you know, trick the enemy into doing what they want and stuff like that, and you know, but still sticking to the, you know, the core Doctor sort of character, like that they're noble and they're doing it for all the right reasons, but they're doing it in the wrong way. And I think you could really, you know, you could really show that through, that's how you could possibly do dark with Jodie Whittaker, and I think she'd be good for the role as well. I think it would work. Like, that sort of approach. But anyway. Yeah. Yeah, and I said something. I think I said something similar to you as well, didn't I? Like I said, what they should do, the perfect decision that the BBC could have made if they wanted to cast a woman, would literally be to cast a woman that's ginger, because of the ongoing ginger joke in Doctor Who Regenerations, and then he regenerates into a woman, and then she says, "Oh, I'm ginger." Like, that would have been perfectly done. Like, you can't. That, it would have been funny. It would have worked well. And I think it would have set the tone for a good, like, you know, a good Doctor's run there. I really do. But as I say, I'm sceptical about the writing, because obviously we've suffered under, what is it, 10 years of Moffat now, and now he's finally leaving. So I'm hoping... I don't care. I hate Stephen Moffat. I really do. He just ran out of ideas, that's the problem. Yeah. Well, this is the thing. I can't remember really which Doctor Who episodes he's written and which ones he hasn't written. Like, he seems... I know he's written some good ones, but I know he's written some really terrible ones as well, hasn't he? Yeah, yeah. Or there'd be some... Or there'd be some big grand speech at the end that would kind of justify it all and tie the episode up. Although it's literally, he's probably just guessed, you know, he's literally guessed the ending from, because he doesn't have a clear path to it. Like, that's one big criticism I do have of Moffat. Like, they'll either, the Doctor will end it in a really weird way, will end the conflict in a really weird way that makes absolutely no sense to the audience, and there'll be some ridiculous twist in there that isn't well set up and doesn't make you, you know, it doesn't make you think, oh god, it was so obvious. Like, that's the whole good, that's how you get a good twist, innit? Like, you realise how obvious everything is after it's happened. But with Stephen Moffat, all of his twists just seem to come out of left field and are just there for shock value, I always find. Or he'll set up a really good cliffhanger for an episode and then end it really badly. And, like, obviously, the main criticism of that one is Heaven Sent and Hell Bent, because that was... Probably, but I think it's in his top 5. I think it probably is the best episode he has ever written for Doctor Who. I'd say that with a bit of confidence as well. Yeah, and I think that would work. Like, go back to classics with it. Go back to like the classic 4-part serial from the 4-part serial from the classic series. I would get behind that move, and I kind of see like the 2-parters are obviously that emulated because it's instead of it being 4 30-minute segments, it's 2-hour-long segments. And obviously they tried that in season 9, because I think every episode was like a 2-parter. I think like every episode went with another episode, if I remember rightly, in season 9. I thought it was really good for that, because it meant you had a half decent cliffhanger to end on. Like, I think there was only 2 that weren't, and I think it was the caretaker, and which was obviously setting up class, and there was one more which I can't quite put my finger on. No, that was oh yeah, no, was it? Was that season 9 or was it season 8? I think it might have been Into the Forest of the Night, actually. That might have been the other one. Oh, that was awful. Like, honestly, never let Frank Cottrell Boyce write Doctor Who. Never let him write Doctor Who. That was rubbish, and Smile was the worst one out of this series as well. I mean, don't get me wrong. All respect to... Sorry. Oh, I hope they don't do that again. No, I agree. I agree. Like, in my opinion, the point of the companion role is to give the audience someone to empathise with. It's to give somebody, like, the Doctor's this big, mad, crazy character that's got so much complexity, so much depth, so much history to it. And and then we as the audience, we'll never fully understand the Doctor, and we get that from the companion. Like, we're seeing everything through the companion's point of view. As they become more like the Doctor as well, and see them develop, we are developing our own love for the character of the Doctor in every form he's in, through every companion. And I think that's what you need, because it's my biggest... I know you love River Song to bits, but you know my feelings on River Song. Like, it's the same for Clara as well, and I think they both are not good companions for the same reason, that they become the Doctor almost, or they know more than the Doctor should, and it gives you no firm grounding as a viewer to look at events and empathise with a character. And I think that's something that needs to be addressed, because I think the fact with Russell T Davies's run was just, in my opinion, so much better than Moffat's, was because it was so simple. It didn't have to be big and complex. It didn't need to be. And neither did Stephen Moffat's. You could just have a simple 60-minute show where a man in a big blue box who's 900 years old goes running around with a 20-year-old from Earth and fights monsters. That's all I ever want for the show. It doesn't have to have a big complex plot. It doesn't have to have a big twist at the end. If it it doesn't have to have all that. You just keep it simple, and I think it worked. Yeah. I know. I keep hearing this. I think it would work though. Chris Marshall as a companion. I'd be happy to see that. Well, it completely fits the script, doesn't it? And it does give it gives reason to suspect the motives behind nominating a woman to be the 13th Doctor, because obviously we're going to go on to this later when we're discussing the fan reaction to the 13th Doctor, and among other things as well, like how other people have reacted to it. Like, is this setting an agenda? The question of whether this is setting an agenda or not, or it is simply just a very good casting choice because Jodie Whittaker is good enough to be the 13th Doctor. And to be honest, I'm willing to take Chris Chibnall's or comments on her audition at face value that she did just blow him away. I'm willing to do that. I think that but I think that we need to wait to see until Christmas. But anyway, I think we should move on a little bit now and look at the Guardian's take on this topic as well, because they've covered it covered the whole saga behind this quite heavily, and we've also got the Telegraph's take as well on the 13th Doctor, along with the statement by Jodie Whittaker. Oops, sorry about that. The screen just went a bit weird. I think I clicked outside the box. Don't worry, you're in the corner of my screen, I think. I can see you there. So yeah, we'll just have a look at this article. A few of the things that they've wanted to say here. Like, I find this quote from Whittaker quite interesting. I always knew I wanted to be the 13th Doctor, to be a woman, and oh no, wait, is this from? Oh no, this is from Chibnall, isn't it? Sorry, this is from Chibnall. I know, I find that, why would you be already looking for it to be a woman and then say you were wowed by Jodie Whittaker like it was a big shock? Like, that just, that doesn't sit right with me. Like, I'm willing to suspend my disbelief. I'm willing to suspend my disbelief until we watch her at Christmas. That's what I'm willing to do. But I think that sounds to me like the role was never open for a male, and when he was choosing this. Hold on, Chris. I think we might be having some technical difficulties here. Luke's just texted me and he said they can't hear you on the stream for some reason. Just let me try this. Just do this again. Give me a minute. Let me try this.
It's after it's happened.
Fixing this now, give me a minute.
Yeah, we're just sorry we're having a technical difficulty, but obviously they can't hear me, so that doesn't matter if I say anything.
Let me try this.
Okay, so well, I'm gonna put up some tracks myself. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can hear myself. You talk for now, and then obviously if I come in,
fixing this
then I'll keep talking. So you just talk about the article. Yeah, we're just sorry we're having a technical difficulty, but obviously they can't hear me, so that doesn't matter. Yeah, we're just sorry we're having a technical difficulty. Yeah, you've got me. hello everyone. Right, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give a quick summary of everything I've said in about 1 minute, so you know what you've been saying. Okay, I've said that I'm big fan of the casting of Jodie Whittaker. Watched her in Black Mirror. Loved her in that. I'm really excited to see where the show goes. I'm slightly concerned about her portraying that dark aspect of the Doctor, and I don't want her to portray like a stereotypical female just with compassion and all that. Also about Chibnall's writing, I sort of threw out the idea of, you know, maybe having a longer sort of episode that goes on like 5 or 6 episodes. And also like questioning the role of the companion as well, like, because it's now a male companion, is the role going to be diminished, or is it going to be like the Clara Oswald kind of companion kind of thing? That's sort of it, isn't it? That's sort of everything I've said right in a minute. Yeah. Yeah. But then again, like maybe he's got a fantastic vision for the show and needed it to be a woman. We don't know yet. Like, yeah, say Trinity. Yes, she did. She got Yeah, she got nominated for best upcoming actress in that, actually, for her role in Venus. So she is really coming up through the ranks and is a, you know, rising star. And also though, although she's coming up through the ranks, she's still not like a massive actor, and I think that's like one of the key things with Doctor Who. Although we do get like a few big actors, like it's never like some people said Eddie Redmayne was going to go for it. It's never that kind of Hollywood A-lister. Yeah, yeah, and I quite like that. Yeah, we're both did Tilda Swinton, so yeah. And then Miranda Hart's in there, and I think you almost cried. Massive fan. Just put that out there. You know. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. That's part of the point, Paris. Certainly will. We certainly will. Yeah. I think there's I don't know. I just want to take this to like a bit wider, so you'll have to like bear with me a moment. But just I think there's sort of this presumptive idea that, you know, with change or with someone's gender sort of, you know, changing the character in that way, that we presume people just aren't going to be on board with it. And I feel that's what she's done. She's just like presuming the fans are going to be against her, and so is just telling everyone, "Oh, don't be afraid, don't be afraid," as if everybody is afraid. Like, does anybody need to remind her? Although we love Doctor Who, it is fictional. So she needs to grow a pair. You know. Yeah. Sorry for the language. You know. No. Well, no. I can say whatever I want on the Bumming Show. You know, it's our show. If you don't like it. But no, like I think she was just presuming that some of the fans would go against her, because it is a big change, and obviously Doctor Who's been running now for over 50 years, and some people are going to be currently watching the show who have watched it for that 50 years, and it is a big change. So I feel she's just trying to protect herself in a way there, and I do feel though she's been a bit presumptive. Run around, like I did sort of jump off. I got very excited. The only thing I didn't get excited about was the reveal was crap. It was rubbish. Like Capaldi's. They did this whole show. They got him out, interviewed him, had Matt Smith give him a few comments. He like walked onto smoke, and there was like glitter cannons and everything. And what does she get? She walks through a forest and pulls her hood down. It's not exactly the greatest reveal. It was like a 10-year ago CGI TARDIS. It was shocking. But to be fair though, her actual look I did quite like. I did like her look in that, like, you know, with the hood and the sort of coat, that long jacket, very sort of very very Tennant-esque is that kind of jacket, I would say. And of course, we all love the Tennant look. Yes. Yeah. No, I prefer her other look though. Put up the other. I like the other look. Show them the other look. So it's like a concept idea, basically. To be fair, yeah, it looks really good. I like that too, actually. Although I'm not sure. It maybe looks a bit too serious for her. I'm not sure the shirt works in it, but the jacket I think works really well on her, like those long jackets. Maybe they shot their hand onto it because you know they see it. But anyway, look at the other one because I love this. I can't wait for you to see this. It's so good. Yeah, yeah, I love this. It's just like I love it because it's again like I feel like when they've gone for this female doctor, they have to go so different, and I feel like this, although it's quite missy, I feel it's good. I feel I really like it. Well, I can put it in perspective, right? Imagine like the doctor's just given this big speech about how Earth is amazing and the people are amazing. Then she just looks like this like sassy flick round, and the dress like goes round with her. That would look sick. I'd love that. Like the sassy dress flick. That's why you need that. I can put it in perspective, right? Okay, right. I'm having a look. The doctor's just given this big speech about how Yeah, this is me. Yeah, yeah. I'm talking about dress sass flick. That's what I'm talking about. That would look sick. I love that. Like a sassy dress flick. That's why you need that. Oh yeah, they can't hear you now, Pharaoh. We've missed done so well. So should we both be working now? Yeah. Yeah. No, like I feel she'd also look good in like. I guess I'm being a bit like two-sided here because I've obviously said like I'm worried about her being just portrayed as the classic kind of female stereotype, but then I like her looking in a dress. And actually, the typical Doctor thing, as you've said, would be to have that long coat, or in Capaldi's case, it's still a coat, sort of jacket kind of thing. So yeah, although I do love this look, it's maybe slightly too different, and maybe just goes along that line. Ferris, you might be working. She'd also look good in like. No, it's not.
Is that working now?
1 second. There's a slight delay, so I'll have to have a double check. Hello? Hello, everyone. We're still here. Well, I'm still here. I'm not sure about Fairhurst yet. He seems to.
I don't want to mute output. It's like echoing now.
Give me wait a minute. Oh,
should be working though.
We're doing YouTube. We're doing YouTube, so we'll have to buy this. Do that half an hour.
Turn it off for the desktop. That should be working now though. I'm getting echoing in my head.
We're both on. That's better. Right, we're there.
Okay. I think we've got it sussed now. I was gonna say because I can hear myself echoing in my headset now.
Shall we just like stop this and like do this again, but with now we working?
Maybe. Could be worth doing, but to be honest, I kind of want to carry on now that we've got a like.
Yeah, let's just do this as like let's just keep going anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it was only our first go on it, so we can always do it right again next time. Like now we've got it sorted.
Yeah.
Yes. To Luke, who as well, who's viewing this, thank you very much for your help, telling us what's going on and what's gone wrong.
Yes, thank you. It's nice to see
really
there's Doctor Who fans cared about the 13th Doctor and listening into our conversations.
You can leave your book there.
Right, so where are we going now? Should we go back to the article?
Yes. I think that's a good idea. Yeah, we've got the like. This was the other thing that she added in this quote about not being afraid of a gender. Is like the first thing she mentioned was as a feminist. Like that was the first thing she said, not as like a Doctor Who fan, which I think it shows a marked departure from like Capaldi's excitement as to when he was the Doctor, because obviously he was a massive Doctor Who fan.
So was Smith. So was Smith.
Yeah. So like that makes me feel a little bit a little bit skeptical maybe as to like will she be a good Doctor, because if she's not a fan of the show, well, we don't know that for sure, do we? I suppose she must be a fan of the show if she's took the job, but it's interesting, isn't it?
How much is that her views and her identifying herself as a feminist, going to influence how she plays the character, but more importantly, how that character develops and the storylines that come with that character? Because for certain, like, I don't know, would you class the Doctor as a feminist?
I wouldn't. I'd class him as an well, class him or her in this case, I suppose. I'd class them as an egalitarian, to be frank. Like, well, I suppose, yeah, I suppose I would actually, because like if the Doctor doesn't really, if Time Lords transcend gender, as that quote was from season 10, then it doesn't really. They can't be feminists, just as a rule. Like, if they truly transcended gender, then that wouldn't be the case, would it?
Exactly. Yeah, they can't. The Doctor can't really be like a feminist, can they? Because like they have no concept of gender. So like, how can the Doctor be a feminist? It's an interesting one. It's sort of annoyed me because like I feel when you've just got given a big role like Doctor Who in such a big fandom, to speak as like an individual and just be like, I'm a feminist and you shouldn't be scared of me. Well, my instant reaction to that is, I'm quite scared about what you're going to do.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think
she could not been fearful is be like, I'm so honoured to have got this part. I know it's a massive role, and I want to do it justice. Like,
yeah, like the first thing on your mind shouldn't be, as a feminist, this is a really good thing for me. Like, you're not thinking about the fans there, are you? You're not thinking about the show. You're thinking about your agenda and what you want to see on TV. And I don't think that that's the right attitude to have when you get given such a prestigious role.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
But
it's an annoying one. It's a really like I get where she's coming from because like I would sort of describe myself as a feminist. Maybe not what feminism stands for right now, but at least like its concept and its ideas. So it doesn't frustrate me that much, but it's just like I feel with that role, it's such a distinctive role. You can never be too political. You'd never see Matt Smith like turn around and go, everyone vote for the Labour Party.
Well, my personal stance is that I'm more of an egalitarian. Like, I wouldn't call myself a feminist, but I do believe in equality, like, equality of opportunity. That's what I believe in.
You're like the Meryl Streep of feminism. She doesn't call herself a feminist, she just calls herself a humanitarian.
Yeah, but there are different ideologies, like, as you well know, like, humanists, egalitarians, feminists, they all want the same thing, but they all have different ways to go about to get it. And I personally think that the way feminism chooses to go about getting equality as a form of equity isn't the right way to go about it, because I believe more in equality of opportunity.
Yeah.
Like,
anyway, we'll save the feminism debate for another time,
yeah, I suppose so. We're here to discuss Doctor Who, not gender politics.
I blame Jodie Whittaker. But like, to be fair, it was very good how they like kept it under wraps as well. I will say that, like, obviously you can just see the bit there where she's saying she's told a lot of lies. Like, one of the things I would say that I regret from the current writing of Moffat and the series was they spoiled the return of John Sim. Like, how good would have that been if no one knew he was coming back?
Well, it would have been fantastic. I think they revealed it way too early. Like, I try and avoid like all spoilers and stuff like that, as you well know. When it comes to Doctor Who,
I'm googling them all the time.
It's really difficult to do when it's plastered all over the Beeb, all over the news, because Doctor Who is such a big show, and I think it kind of ruined the reveal. But I mean, don't get me wrong, like I'd kind of forgotten about it. In episode 12 when he was revealed, I did get a bit of a shiver. I was like, oh, he's there.
Like, I just want to like really pick up on the quote, like, that's just a quick bit below that, and just sort of bring it back to this discussion about, her being a feminist.
Get back on topic.
And it's this quote here: it feels completely overwhelming as a feminist, as a woman, as an actor, as a human. And I feel like just taking that again to wider political, there's too much at the moment, I would say, of people trying to box themselves in. And she says she doesn't want to like box people, and be boxed in by what you're told to do. But that's just what she's doing. She's like, it's so much identity politics, as a feminist, as a woman, as an actor, as a human.
Exactly. Like, look at the first two things on that list. She's done that herself. She has done that herself.
Yeah, and she's sort of, portraying like, as a woman, this is really big. Well, no, it's big for everyone.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. I don't care if you are a woman. Good for you. Good.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm happy with the 13th Doctor more than anything.
for me, like that phrase, just as an actor, why does she have to distinguish herself as a woman, as a feminist? She doesn't. Just as an actor.
Yeah, that's all that needs to be said.
You never see Tennant getting the role and going, as a Scotsman, as a, as a socialist, as whatever. You don't. He's just
exactly.
An actor.
Or as Peter Davidson's potential son-in-law.
Yeah, it just seems to me a bit, she's trying to say she's like not boxing people in and making sure people have all these opportunities, but yet she's just dividing everyone into categories, like as a woman. So as a woman, this is amazing. It's not.
And that's the reason why I personally disagree with feminism, because I think it does do way too much of that. Like, if they were truly concerned about equality and unity through diversity, which is what they always say, it's not a very good way to do it, is it, really? By dividing everybody up into categories.
And to be honest, I'd really dispute this, the quote below that. Not the first part. Like, we've already discussed that idea about being scared about the gender. But Doctor Who represents everything that is exciting about change. So, what would you say about that? Is the purpose of Doctor Who to represent change in society?
That is actually a really good question. I think science fiction shows in general have the ability to agenda change and gender change in a society quite a lot. Like, from both a scientific perspective, a social perspective. I think they do a lot of that. Like, if you look back at Star Trek, looking back at Star Trek from the 60s with William Shatner, like, I'm sure you know about this, Chris. The first interracial kiss on US TV was on Star Trek between William Shatner and Uhura, Michelle Nichols. And I think that set a very interesting precedent in the US, and it's still remembered because of how significant it was, really. And I think that science fiction can do that a lot easier than a lot of other programs really can. Because, like, I think, I know it's been laid on quite, I think when it's done right, obviously. Like, it was obviously laid on quite thick, I think, in Moffat's run. I think there was been a lot of... the agenda setting, the messages, they're all laid on really, really thick. Like, if you watched Oxygen, season 2,
I was
episode 5,
just going to say Oxygen is the most political,
it's just so,
Doctor Who episode in years. And
then you had the monks to follow as well. Like, the whole 1984 aesthetic they did in Lie of the Land. Like, we know what you want to set. I suppose, though, the best example of this is, and it's become a meme now as well on TARDIS posted, as me and you both know, is the is Bill gay meme. Like, they made a point to push that identity for Bill in every single episode, and they just made it really, really blatant. Like, they didn't have to do that. They could have done it with...
I'm losing you.
Oh, you're losing me at my end. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Alright, okay. But yeah, like, they made it so blatant in terms of, Bill's gay. Like, yeah, you could have done that really, really subtly and really cleverly and actually developed Bill as more of a 3D character instead of just a 2D stereotype of a character, which is
Agreed.
the only
I feel
point
like when they try to do diversity in Doctor Who at the moment, like, it's such a stereotypical way of portraying it, but it's not realistic.
And it's
like,
not
Bill
good
was made to be seen as so distinctive and so different from everyone else by the fact she was a lesbian, when actually, like the whole arc of that story was, in the end, the character in pilot you'd met for 15 minutes who happened to be Bill's crush saved the whole fucking thing, which was just silly.
Exactly, it's not even good writing. That's just terrible writing. It's not... Like, if you want to push something like that, and you want to push that kind of message, you have to do it in a way where people are entertained. Otherwise, they'll just call you out and say it's propaganda. That's exactly what it is, and they'll say that, and they won't listen to the message. And that's the reason why I think that, like, science fiction can do that in such a really good way. And the best example I have for this in the modern context probably is Russell T Davies. and his focus on like green politics and the
I can't hear you again.
Can you hear me now? Have you got me now?
Yeah, it was just
keep
you might be
dropping
speaking
out.
too fast.
Oh, sorry. But yeah, like Russell T Davis's focus on green politics and the earth, like there'd just be like subtle things he'd leave in scripts to discuss, which I thought were quite interesting. Like the if you remember in The Waters of Mars, he mentions like the who's the woman in it? Who's the captain of the ship? Is it Brooke? Is it from the
I know you're on about. Yeah,
you know I'm on
I
about,
can't remember her name.
I think it's Adelaide Brooke. I can't remember anyway. But she mentions an oil apocalypse, like just as a subtle line, and I think that's, it's quite, you don't have to lay it on thick. You can just leave it in there as little things.
Yeah.
That people will pick up on.
Yeah, I'd probably like just to sort of return to like Doctor Who represents everything that's exciting about change. Like, is Doctor Who meant to be a representation of change? No. But is it getting used as one? Yes. Like, I don't think Doctor Who's purpose is to represent everything that's changing about modern society. But I feel like society will use it for that purpose. Because it's such a popular show, obviously when people watch it and it normalises something, then other people will start to accept that. So it is used as that kind of political tool in a way,
It can be used for that. There's no harm in doing that.
Yeah, there is no harm, but bar the fact that it is very much influencing what a lot of people think.
True, that is true. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if it's done well, then people will accept it. But if it's not done well, then people won't. Like, I think we're getting into the topic now of what makes effective propaganda, and I actually answered a question similar to this in my last history exam at university. That I think the quote was, "Good propaganda has to be entertaining, discuss," and I answered it quite well, if I remember rightly. But it's an interesting one. It is an interesting question, but I think we should. I think we're getting a bit off track now. I think we need to move back to. To move on to part 2 of this discussion, which is obviously the Team Colin versus Team Davidson debate, which also took place in The Guardian, interestingly enough.
Which team are you on?
I don't know. I'm kind of behind Colin, but I do respect Peter Davidson because he did the 5ish Doctor special, so I'm kind of on the fence. I'm kind of loyal to Peter in that way.
Well, I'd probably, if I was to class myself, I would definitely say 100% that I'm on Team Colin, but I am 100% supportive of Davison giving his opinion, and that being, being allowed. So, although I would say I'm strongly behind Colin Baker's opinion, I don't think Peter Davison is completely wrong in what he says.
Well, do you think we should move on to Colin first? I think that we should do Colin's quotes in The Guardian here, which is the piece he wrote on it.
I do love Colin Baker.
Well, I like Colin Baker because he wears Crocs. Simple as that. Have you seen him in the 5
Yeah, I wear Crocs.
Special? We both wear Crocs. We all do. Yeah, if you want to stop watching the stream now because we wear Crocs, you can. I'm sorry, but you don't deserve us in our Crocs if you don't like Crocs. Anyway, let's carry on. The question, what? Try and
I can't hear you.
No, I'm just getting my bearings with the article.
Hello?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I can hear myself.
Your signal doesn't look great.
It's probably because I'm streaming as well. Like, the quality of my Skype signal will probably be really, really low. Like,
no, I can't hear
you. You should have really done the call, to be honest. Like, I shouldn't be doing the call and the stream at the same time. It's probably ruining my internet bandwidth.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, Colin Baker's sort of position on this. I remember seeing an interview with him. I think it was at some kind of like Comic-Con thing, and he said like, why can't the Doctor be a role model for people?
And I agree. I think the Doctor can be a role model for people. I think that's the whole purpose of the character. Like, he gives you, well, to quote Superman, he gives you an ideal to strive towards, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I think that's quite an important point to make. And I think that I agree with the with the gender as well. I agree the fact that the gender could be like he says here as well. The dozen or so personalities to emerge thus far from the chrysalis of regeneration have been as different as any you could pick at random on the Clapham omnibus on Gallifrey, except in one particular, gender. They have been young and old. They've been Scottish, Northern, and received pronunciation. They have been grumpy, feckless, patrician, balmy, innocent, brash, and potty, but never female. And I think he makes a fair point there. That
Well, right, okay. Well, he might make a fair point, but come on, this is just relating back to that identity we were on about earlier. Like, it's like ridiculous. It's like, are we going to have a checklist and the Doctor has to identify every single one of these things before the Doctor is fully,
that's the reason I was going to bring this up, actually. Like,
we haven't checked off the disabled list yet, and we haven't checked off blind. We haven't checked off deaf yet. We haven't checked off the lost and arm list. And, like, I know it might be petty, but come on, like, we're not making the Doctor female because, oh my god, we need to hit a certain quota of, diversity. We're meant to be making the Doctor female because she was the best person to play the Doctor.
Yeah.
End of.
And I agree. And I think that I think that Colin is kind of saying that in this quote. Like, he's just saying, why is there so much like controversy over the decision? That's what I think. But going back to what you were saying about the is the Doctor disabled? Is it a big long checklist? If you look at what Anita Sarkeesian's reaction to the 13th Doctor, you'll get a very interesting picture. And if I assume everybody who's going to watch
I can't hear you.
Oh, can't you hear me? You're on. It's on Skype, I think. I can hear myself, so still be coming through on here. But to anybody that doesn't know who Anita Sarkeesian is, which I imagine is probably only about 10% of people that will watch this video, she was quite a controversial figure in the and quite an outspoken. She was quite an outspoken feminist. Runs the feminist frequency page. Was a bit of a popular figure in Gamergate. On one side and not the other, if I remember correctly. And she was saying, like, this decision didn't go far enough as it didn't include. We're meant to be making the Doctor female because she was the best person to play the Doctor. Chris, am I hearing you echo? I'm hearing you echo. Sorry, it's alright.
It's because I'm losing you, so
Yeah, you just trying to keep track of what I'm saying. But yeah, I'm just saying about Anita Sarkeesian on this topic. Like, she said that the decision didn't go far enough because the Doctor's a white woman. Like, it should have been a black woman or something like that. Like,
piss off.
It's just like, you'll never please these people. Like, if it was made to set an agenda, to please the agenda setters and the social justice warriors online, you're never gonna please them. Like, get used to it, BBC. You're never, ever going to please these people. They will always, always ask for more. Like, until every single person, like, every single identity has been covered in the progressive stack. Like, you're never going to please them. So, if that's the reason why you've made the decision, you're your own worst enemy in that case. But I don't think that is the case. I think they probably have picked the Doctor on... Well, I hope they picked the Doctor on merit. So that's all I'm going to say.
Right. What did I say? Right, Ferris, just bear with me a minute. I'm just going to, go on hold.
Alright, okay. I'm going to check the chat, see if anybody's actually chatting in the on the dashboard. We've got... it's only Luke. Alright, only Luke's watching this, apparently. So I suppose I can just have a minute then for now. And carry on reading this Colin Baker article. Talking a bit more about... Let's have a look. Oh, that's a good quote. Patriarchal Doctor. Patronising and I don't go with him hard up. I know I have him as my profile pic, so obviously I might be a little bit biased here, but patronising and condescending. I wouldn't have that about William Hartnell. Never, never, never.
Is Joplin as well?
Yeah.
You're back
Hello?
now. There you go, Chris. All right, okay. I'm just reading this quote from this Colin Baker article. They're calling William Hartnell patriarchal, patronising and condescending in our eyes today. Like, ooh.
Yeah.
I don't think I agree with that. I don't think I do. Maybe I'm biased though, because obviously I'm using Hartnell as my profile picture.
It's quite interesting to see like how in the one stand, you know, the Doctor and the whole universe with that was so neutral, and of course there's got to be a female. But then somehow in the 1960s, that same universe had to be patriarchal. I'm not sure what he's sort of trying to get at there.
I know it's a bit tongue-tied, isn't it? Like you think, and also he said here as well. But we have evolved, thankfully, and most of us see the absurdity of a world in which either gender should dominate the other or be regarded as second-class citizens. There will have been, like, nobody, as far as I know, nobody considers women to be second-class citizens.
And I'd also say I find it extremely rich to say that, you know, the Doctor portrays that kind of idea. Like, yes, the Doctor does sort of put himself above, like, he is intelligent, but respects companions so much.
Well, I don't
treasures them so much.
Just a little clarification on that quote. I don't think many people in the West would consider women to be second-class citizens. I mean, I know there's some countries in the world where obviously they are very much considered second-class citizens, like Saudi Arabia and things like that. But I don't think that many people that will read this article, the first thought would be women are second-class citizens and Colin Baker's right here, because I don't think he is. Like, do you consider women second-class citizens, Chris? I don't.
No, I don't at all. Like, I think you know, society's just come to see them all equally, and that's one of the reasons. Definitely say again, like, it shouldn't be played upon too much that she's got the role because she's a woman. She's got the role because she's a good actress. Yeah. That's got to be the main message they've got to put across. And the fact that they keep putting it out there, you know, that, oh, you know, we needed a woman, we need to be diverse. It actually discredits the whole idea that women can get these roles, because you're basically saying women aren't getting roles because they're good enough for them. They're getting them because they're women. And that way you're actually discriminating against men. Because you're saying, well, men have to get the roles out of merit and women just get them because they're women. Well, actually, that's not the case. She's clearly got this role because she's a good actress.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's all you have to do. You don't have to make a big thing out of the gender. Like, why should that be the first thing on everyone's mind? Like, the thing should be is, you know, she's done this on merit and she happens to be a woman. Like, that should be the second thing you're thinking of. It shouldn't be a case of, oh, you know, it's a woman, yay, you know, like, it should be, we've got a very good person in the role of Doctor Who. That should be the first thing you're thinking about. And that's the reason why I kind of disagree with Colin here on this.
Yeah, could you just scroll up a little bit? Sorry, you missed the... Yeah, just above the photo. Again, like, just a nice little bit of, no, down... It was the Capaldi photo with the Dalek. Just a really nice, again, just example of, you know, how... Obviously, Jodie Whittaker, when she was speaking, I'm a feminist, so that means I believe this. And, of course, Colin Baker now saying, I'm a father of 4 daughters, so I think this. Again, it's, you know, personalising every opinion you have and relating it to a certain group. So, because I'm a father with a daughter, that means I've got to think this is brilliant. And if I'm a feminist, I'm a woman, I've got to think this is brilliant.
Like, you do have a capacity to think as an individual, Colin. You do have that capacity.
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to say, and there's a real. This is completely true, and I would agree with the rest of what he says. You know, there are fewer female role models in society, TV, etc. But one of the things I would also add to that is, of course, Doctor Who has been massive for giving companions big roles and female companions. Like, let's not forget, and also the role of women in society that is massively increasing. You know, like Dr. Foster was a big BBC drama led by a woman. You know, so
Doctor Who was the first BBC production that was produced by a woman, Verity Lambert. There you go.
Yeah, you see, the Doctor Who's got a history of, you know, giving good female figures roles within the show. But it's just like I know there's fewer striking role models, but the amount that it's increasing is fantastic, but we need to start finding that balance, because obviously what we don't want to do is just take every single role model that's male and switch it, because then you'll have no male role models. So there is that kind of balance you need to find.
I think there's a point to be made there. I think there needs to be a balance between the two, and I think this is the perfect time to segue into Peter Davidson's view on this.
I'd agree with that.
So we're going to move over to the other article now, with Peter Davidson's take on Doctor Number 13, and like his stance that it's a loss of role models for boys, and Jodie Whittaker removes a vitally important hero for boys, and Colin Baker then firing back saying it's absolute rubbish, as the top of the article says. So what's your initial thoughts on this then, Chris? What do you think?
Well, like I said, I'm sort of Team Baker, but my thing is, like, I get people are a bit annoyed at this comment, and are annoyed at the decision. But I completely believe they have a right to say that. Doctor Who is a show that's been running for 50 years. People love this show. They've grown up with this male Doctor who they've all aspired to be, and now, of course, that Doctor's become female. So that might make them feel like, oh well, maybe I can't really achieve that anymore. I don't know. I do feel like maybe all it's doing is actually broadening that role model to make sure men and women look to it. But, like, I don't know. I feel there's some legitimacy. Like, I feel he's entitled to make that point. Like, obviously, like, Doctor Who was quite a big thing for him when he was growing up. And, just as it was for Capaldi when he was growing up. So, like, it has inspired a lot of future male actors to, come and take the role. So, I get what he's saying. I do get what he's saying.
Yeah, I do. But I think that this argument can be, if somebody wanted, I think that it's very easily detractable, because like the first thing you can say to this is, won't somebody please think of the children? Like, that's the ultimate way to sum this up, really, and it's a non-argument then, I think, because and to be honest, you could also throw it back the other way as well, like women used to, like feminists from days gone by used to say, like, oh, there's not enough female role models in TV and they need women to be female role models. But couldn't you just argue, well, men can be female role models and women can be male role models, why can't they? Like, there's no...
Yeah, I think there's, like, the two things on the sort
specific.
The two things on the sort of... the female role model idea. One, I think it greatly diminishes the massive role that actors like Karen Gillan have played. Kingston, Alex Kingston as River Song. Big characters in Doctor Who played by females who are role models for young girls. And what are we trying to say now? That because they didn't play the Doctor but were in the show, they mean nothing and they're not role models? Like, Doctor Who has had massive role models for female characters. It's not like they've not been non-existent. I actually feel it sort of greatly downplays their role, which I find quite frustrating. But I also want to pay attention, like, just reading currently on the screen, the bottom two paragraphs there. His comments have been taken so far out of proportion.
I know they have. Like, look at the quotes. Terrific actress, wonderful job, and hard to. And that he hoped those who found it hard to adjust would watch with an open mind. Like, that is exactly what I was thinking when I took this, when I heard the announcements.
Yes,
so I
exactly.
suppose I am more Team Peter than I am Team Colin.
Yeah.
I think I disagree with his comment about it being a role model, because you can like destroy that argument so easily.
Yeah, but even he does hard. Like, that's the thing. Like, he says, I understand the argument, you need to open it up. Like, that's what he's saying. His comments have been taken so far out of proportion. They've been made to almost suggest that he thinks, oh my god, we've lost this great role model. What he's actually saying is, my only doubt about it is that, the young boys who were looking up to the Doctor, now they see a woman, but he's got an open mind and he doesn't mind that, and can also see how that opens up opportunities for both genders. Let's not forget that as well. Like, it's not just, there's more than two genders out there now that exist. So, like, come on, like, making this a woman doesn't just mean that all women are going to suddenly be inspired. Men can be inspired to do women's jobs by looking at this as well. That's the message that has got to be sent out. It's not just, it's all about women. It's about everyone.
I'd say so, but if it is about everybody, then why would you draw attention to the gender straight away. Like, I don't think that had to happen. I think you could have just, if you truly were bothered about it being about everybody, you wouldn't have even made a big thing out of it being a woman. You would have just said, you would have just literally shrugged your shoulders and said she was the best pick. Like, I think
exactly.
That's the best way to do that.
Agreed. Sort of the point, just the little phrase there, you know, Davison's daughter and Georgia Moffat obviously played the clone version. Again, that's what I was trying to say. There's so many characters in Doctor Who, strong female characters.
There are loads, absolutely.
What are they getting made out to be? As though they're not role models? You know, trying to say that the only person who's a role model in Doctor Who is the Doctor. Like, quite frankly, like when I watched, you know, Doctor Who growing up, like I like Captain Jack Harkness. I would love to be him. Like, he's a role model, and he's not the Doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's in the show.
I find that quite insulting, to be honest. Like, to the former companions, because like some of them are really, really good characters. Like, and they are role models in their own right. Like, I think that's like, you know, like you've got heroines. Like my real memory, I suppose, is like Donna and Rose and Martha. When I was growing up, they were heroines. They were heroines to me. Like, real heroes, like the Doctor, like they had an active role. Like, I'd say the best example, probably earliest example from my youth, would have been Martha in the final episode of season 3. Like, she literally does everything the Doctor was supposed to do, and does it all with aplomb, and wins the day because of it. Like, without Martha there, the Doctor wouldn't have won. And it's the same kind of with Turn Left as well, with Donna Noble, when they do that alternative timeline thing. I think it's quite interesting anyway.
Yeah, the Dr. Donna. Like, come on. Like, the head of unit, like, in most recently, of course, played by a woman. Harriet Jones, woman Prime Minister. You know, these are characters in big positions in our society, not just in the Doctor world, you know, that are being portrayed by a woman. You know, let's not forget that. You know, that's really important. Doctor Who is not just suddenly now giving women role models. It always has. It always has been. Women role models.
Yeah, and it's done it without drawing attention to it. It's just done it the way it would, like, anybody with a brain would do it. Like, it doesn't make you think about it. It doesn't draw attention to the fact that it's a woman. It just does it. It doesn't have. That's all it's supposed to do. Like, yeah, that's what I think is the best move anyway. That's my stance.
Yeah, I'm agreed with that stance. I think we pretty much agree, like, on the aspect of, you know.
But I'm still Team Peter. Like, I think that Peter actually, apart from the role models thing, does have the argument that I went into this thinking. I think that was the argument I pretty much had. So I think that Peter, I'm more leaning towards Peter on this one personally. But apart from the role models thing.
Well, I don't think they're actually that far apart in what they're saying. Like, although Peter's been portrayed as though, like, being massively against it, the only thing he maybe said was about the role model, and to be fair, it's not that extreme a view. Like, some people obviously are going to be disappointed about that. All I would just say is that, you know, rather than it just being a role model for boys, it's now just a role model for everyone, and that's welcome. But, like, it's not an extreme. It doesn't require a big response. Let's put it at that.
Yeah, it doesn't. You're right. You're absolutely right. Like, and I think the reason why it's been taken so out of proportion, and this will link nicely into what we're going to show you next, is the fact he's been booted off Twitter. Like, he's stopped tweeting, like, because people have disagreed with him online and they've been harassing him, and it's not nice. Like, just because of a change of opinion. Like there's no need to do that. And I'm going to show you an article here that pretty much shows the thinking of these types of people, like the social justice warrior types that are obviously really happy about it being a woman, but they're attacking Peter Davidson because he happens to disagree with their point of view and has a different opinion on the issue. And I think that's what's blown it out of proportion with Peter Davidson, to be honest with you, because he's not, from what I've read, he's not, you know, it's not a big. He's not a sexist. He's nothing like that. Absolutely not.
Can't hear you, mate.
I can hear myself in the mic, so I think it might just be Skype.
Yeah.
Because that's playing back through now on OBS Studio. So as long as I can hear myself in the headphones, I should be streaming.
Okay, cool. Yeah, this is the Daily Beast article, isn't it?
Yes, and for some reason I've just clicked onto Skype. There we go. It's on now.
Yeah, I saw this, didn't I, online, and I was like, I had to, you know,
put this
in the video, because, you know, it's
like this is the first place that they go slut shaming, and I know I will admit this. What was it? Was it the Sun that did this?
I think
the
so,
page
yeah.
3 of Jodie Whittaker when she was announced. I didn't buy it. I haven't seen it, but I know that there was a lot of controversy surrounding it.
Yeah, like obviously, like what I'd like to say is, I for the background, you know, Fair has mentioned his history background. I've done a year here at university studying, you know, general women's studies and the presentation of things like this, you know, women's bodies in media. And one of the things I would say that really does annoy me about sort of social justice warriors and this argument, you know, about she's being slut shamed, is that there's a lack of contention from social justice warriors. This also happens to men.
Yeah, of course it does.
And you know, and happens very often. You know, like Matt Smith getting the role, he's very sexualized. So is David
like,
Tennant.
He literally appears naked for no reason in one episode of the program. Like,
exactly.
Come on, you can't tell me that that's not done for any other reason than sex sells. Like that, you can't tell me that that's not the case.
Yeah,
but no one, you know, nobody cares then, do they? No one cares if it's a man. But as soon as it's a woman, it's, you know, it's the double standard, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, I do feel there's, like, I feel there's a legitimate reason. I would obviously be agreeing, like, showing photos of her like that in the Sun is wrong, but then, like, so is the way that previous doctors have been sexualized as well. It's not miscommon. I think the thing that feminism has done well is to present this to the forefront. So to make people aware that, you know, people get sexualized. But what it hasn't done yet is make people aware of all sexualization. What it's done is it's just presented. And also what I'd like to say on this as well is, where is the massive challenge from feminists about the presentation of the sexual relationship of Bill and, like, you know, the lesbian kind of love that is presented in Doctor Who?
Yeah, because they only cared about what's in their agenda.
How unrealistic was that presented? It was so frustrating. You know, you put an LGBT sort of figure in the show and you don't present them very well. You know, it's a lack of contention from this kind of movement about the only
because they only care about their agenda. That's why.
Is women, and it's not. You know, previous doctors have also been sexualized. Like, we look at the look of a doctor all the time. Like, we looked at images just now about, you know, the clothing you should be looking at. Did the same with Capaldi and Tennant and Smith and Eccleston. You know, it doesn't make us special in any way.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. But it does the thing as well. Like, it's because it's all about feminists' agenda. They'll never mention anything outside of their own agenda. They'll only do it if something contravenes their agenda. And that's the reason why I personally wouldn't identify as a feminist. Because I think that a lot of the people, like the big loud, I know there's a lot of feminists out there, like probably the vast majority of them that would consider them, like people that would consider themselves feminist would call that out, but like the big voices and the big names in feminism that are setting the agenda want to see that agenda carried out to the letter, as opposed to like everyone, like as opposed to everybody's perspective. Like, it all has to be done their way or the highway kind of deal. Anyway, I want to jump into this article now, because I've just been reading the first couple of lines, and like, doesn't this show exactly the kind of person the writer is here? Like, the first thing they mention is now be portrayed by a white woman. You know, you got to get that position on the progressive stack ranks, obviously. Like, come on, like. Nor the nerdy details about why it makes canonical sense. Like, you don't watch the show, do you? Like, we know it makes canonical sense, but you would mention that very, very strongly if you actually watch the show. But I'm convinced that this person doesn't watch the show. And the next thing he mentions is backlash to diversity and progress. Like, you know, keep loading them buzzwords in, you know, get them all in the first paragraph. Like,
yeah, just throw them all in.
Like, if you actually cared about the program, you would you'd be saying this. You'd be like, if you actually cared about the program, then that's you wouldn't be
like, this is like, can I just comment on this second paragraph, please?
Yeah, go on.
Right, so Just reading this line here, and a person's discomfort at seeing a woman or a person of colour in a leading role can often be an indication of an unchallenged toxic idea they harbour about people. I want to make 2 comments on this because it is funny. The first comment I want to make on that is just like, one of the problems that socialist justice warriors have is obviously what they advocate is, you know, they advocate this safe space where we shouldn't discuss, you know, people with racist views shouldn't, you know, they should be harboured from them. You know, they sexist you should be sheltered from them. And so when these views actually appear, because oh my God, some people have them, and we haven't debated them or challenged them because we've hidden ourselves away.
It doesn't get you anywhere.
Yeah, it
is. It's nuts, honestly. Like,
and also, like, just a quick second point on that. Clearly, he has no idea about who the actual Doctor Who fans are, because the majority of Doctor Who fans, and a study shown this, and sorry I don't know the name, it's by someone, I think it's in another article we're going to show anyway, and they looked at 700 tweets from people, from Doctor Who fans.
Oh, is this the 50-50 misogynistic tweet thing, or is it a link to it or something?
This is completely against it. Like, it found that like 39% of Doctor Who fans were for it, 3% were against, and like the other 36 just were neutral. Like, there is no evidence to say that Doctor Who fans have all turned around and are now suddenly hidden racists and sexists.
You know, they're all thought criminals because they don't happen to completely agree with it, you know. Like, that's what it seems to me. Like, it's all manufactured outrage because certain people might not think this is a good move.
It's like you vote Brexit, so you vote UKIP, so you're a racist, or you vote Trump, so you're a racist.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
so many other reasons.
It's
like
thought crime. That's the only way to describe it, as thought crime.
Yeah, there's so many reasons to believe in something like... There's so many reasons to argue why the Doctor should be male, or should have stayed male. I personally think there's just more better reasons why the Doctor can be of both genders. But that doesn't mean that anyone who argues that the Doctor should stay male is somehow a sexist. Like, are you seriously trying to suggest that Peter Davison is a sexist? Like, that sounds ludicrous. Exactly. So I think they've got it. The thing that annoys me is they're too quick to attach labels. Like you said at the start, he throws in the buzzwords, attaching labels to people who oppose them, and then those who agree with, they hide them.
And it does this more in the third paragraph as well. They might not consider themselves bigoted, racist, or sexist, but such ideas often are, even if the non-bigots operate perfectly amicably within groups whose representation they oppose. Like, yeah, just... You don't have to be racist to be racist, apparently, these days. Like, come on. Like, that is actually a real article as well. Like, that article does actually exist. But, like, yeah, we don't consider ourselves bigoted, racist, or sexist. Because we're not.
Read the next line. I think a good rule of thumb is this. This is your rule, okay? If your knee-jerk reaction to something, as innocuous as a TV show casting, is basically
oh my God,
white supremacists, then it's the facts of those ideas. Like, come on.
Well, actually, to be frank, if my I wouldn't have a knee-jerk reaction because you just said she was a white woman. I'd be made up about that if I was a white supremacist.
Because I support the Doctor being white. If I supported the Doctor being a white woman, because I support the Doctor being white, my views align.
Oh, but remember though, if you happen to remember though, that's how easy it is to be convicted of thought crime. How easy it is to do thought crime. If you just so happen to align with the views of the manosphere, oh, you're a thought criminal, you're a racist. So you better not even go anywhere near thinking like that. You know what I mean? Keep listening to us. We'll tell you what to think.
It's just ridiculous. Like, obviously, you know, people who do make racist comments, like, obviously they are racist, but we've got to stop labeling people too quickly, because if you label someone as a racist and they're not racist, well, you can't challenge their views. You then just put them aside, and then you can't, you know, educate them on what's right and wrong. Like, if you just hide people away and you don't let them experience it, eventually you're going to experience. You're going to see in the wild world racism or sexism. It's going to happen.
Like, you're going to You can put a big wall around yourself, but eventually that wall is going to crumble. It's just a fact of life. Like, people like this become so insulated in their ideology as soon as, like, you know, there's a lot of double think involved. There's a lot of, you know, things, like, if there's any single contradiction to their ideology, they know they've had it. Like, they can't face the world outside of it anymore. It's honestly, if you look at studies of cults, it's quite similar to cult thinking. Like, I was watching a video by Sargon of Akkad on the topic of cults, and I found it really, really interesting. Like, he goes into a full analysis of Dr. Arthur Diekman's book, The Long Way Home, and the way Diekman's study reflects this sort of social justice warrior type ideology it's unusual. It's unusually similar. Like, you could very easily call the social justice warrior sort of social justice warrior idea as a cult. You could call it that.
Hello?
Yep. Did you lose my thread there? I was just talking about, like...
First!
Yep, can you hear me, Chris?
Yeah, I've got you back now.
Yeah, I was just talking about, like, the idea of social justice warriors as being cult-like from a Sargon of Akkad video. Obviously, I know a lot more people watch him than me, but he is a very, very good YouTuber. Just a cheeky plug there. But yeah, like, they've got the other things as well, like, especially when a large media platform is involved. Oh, the stakes are so high. Like, come on. Like, if most people think that way, do you think that you're wrong? Or do you think that you're right? Because I think a lot of people are taking this with a very open mind.
Like, it's just like... Come on, like, really, like... Again, it's just like playing on the sexualization of women, which I've already talked about. I'm not going to talk about again in much detail. It's just like, you know, it happens to men too. Let's not forget about that. That's an important thing not to forget. But it's just this. It frustrates me when I see something like this from a socialist justice warrior, because there are legitimate places of concern for women in modern society that need addressing, and to make something like Peter Davison suggesting that men are losing a role model when, quite frankly, the person changing from man to woman does mean that obviously that the character is no longer a man. It's a legitimate point. What should feminists be spending their time doing? Trolling Peter Davison and harassing
forcing him off Twitter.
Yeah. No. Or challenging domestic violence, challenging the way that women are treated in Islamic countries. Challenging these ideas are far more for feminism at the moment. So, like, when just really arcing it round to when I said earlier, like, I would class myself as a feminist, I would class myself as a second wave feminist, because right now for me, social justice warriors and feminism at the moment is not challenging the big issues. Things like this, they are important. Like,
yeah, but they're tiny in comparison in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and let's not, you know, make it out that everyone who disagrees with it is a racist, because they're not. Like, Hitler is a white supremacist racist kind of thing. Like, we're not saying anyone who says that Jodie Whittaker, because she's a white woman and we like that, means that they're a racist.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's like it's linked so much into, like, the idea of the patriarchy and all of this sort of thing. Like, you know, everything I don't like is the patriarchy. Every single thing that's wrong in the world is due to the patriarchy. Like, it's a scapegoat. It's not even real. Like, you can't, like, if you actually look in depth at what feminists have claimed to be the results of the patriarchy, they contradict each other and they don't make any sense. Like, you literally need a ridiculous level of doublethink to get the patriarchy as a concept to work. You need to have a completely omnipotent society of men that is completely non-invasive to women. It doesn't make any sense. Like, you can't have an omnipotent society that's a non-invasive. Because by nature of them being omnipotent, they are invasive.
Like, I don't want to get into a too deep discussion about feminism, and I would say that I do, like I said, I would identify myself as a second-wave feminist, and I do, like I say, think there's strong areas where there's inequality for women. But I also want to point out to one big thing that obviously isn't discussed in this article as well. It's like, men, there are inequalities now that are existing, and I know it's a shock horror, ladies and gentlemen, but, like, working-class boys are really struggling at school. Like,
well, technically, they're the most deprived group, I believe, aren't they?
Yeah, we have massive issues with inequality, and it's not just existing within women and within blacks and within disabled. It's across everyone now, and that's what we've got to realise. And it's this danger of identity politics. We need to find something for everyone. We don't. You can't
you're right.
everyone. Like I put this analogy to Brexit, and I'll put it now to picking a doctor on identity politics. Yeah, when you order a pizza, you do not get you don't go for the ham and pineapple, which is a bit different. You go for the margarita, and you top it with what you want, because that way you can't cater for everyone. Like if I get
right.
someone's not going to like margarita, someone's not going to like the ham and pineapple. You know, it's weird. I'm talking about pizza, I know, but it's just
no. You're right.
Yeah, like you cannot just want something to happen because it needs to identify something. Like, and I think this is like sort of what I've been trying to say for the whole thing, and we have been trying to say is that
we have.
It's not. We're not objecting to Jodie Whittaker being a female doctor. We object to the argument that someone says she should get the role because she's a woman.
That's what I object to. Definitely.
She should get the role because
she get the role on merit, not because of what she's got between her legs.
Yes, because she's a fantastic actress. Yeah, that's the fact, and that's why I'm happy she's got the role. But I don't appreciate someone coming up with an article saying that everyone who's against her is racist, because one, they're not, and also tries to make out that the majority of Doctor Who fans are racist and sexist. But I think this idiot will find that Doctor Who has been one of the most progressive shows for giving females lead characters as in companions, rather than a lot of BBC shows that haven't done so. How about James Bond, etc., like these kind of things? Doctor Who has been really good at that. So the fact that this guy then turns out and says, because a minority of fans disagree, everyone's somehow this sexist, racist idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously there's a slight problem. Obviously there's a minor problem with people not being able to accept that. But we're not going to solve the problem by this idiot turning around and telling them all that they're all racists and,
Yeah, exactly. All it does is just fuel the fire. All it does is just... Yeah. It's saying people against people more. It doesn't bring the community together. It doesn't bring the fandom together, and that's what we need. Because the argument I'd make with this was when you'll always get people in society that'll think differently to what the rest of the society thinks. Like the people on the radical ends of the political spectrums. You'll always get that. Like the world that the social justice warriors want is one that all thinks the same, all does the same, and is, there's no hate and there's nothing like that, because everybody's thinking the same way and is on completely the same wavelength. But what a world would that be? What would that be like? Like that would be awful. Like I'd be the same as the person I live next door to. We'd all have the same names. We'd have no form of personal identity. We'd have nothing to distinguish us from other people, and I think that would be from a perspective of somebody who believes that
it's quite interesting. So I would say that obviously socialist justice warriors are they want the diversity and everything, but they don't want the diversity of opinions.
Yeah.
They want the diversity that they see as diversity. So for example, if you're a woman and you're white and you work, you have to believe in X. You have to believe that the doctor who got picked was amazing. You have to
be a feminist. Yeah? You have to be one.
And if you're not, you're sexist. If you're not, you're racist. Well, actually, what it is it's called freedom of speech and diversity. That's what that is. That is true diverse opinions that challenge everything. Like, diversity, if you have a diverse opinion that is racist, that is not good. But I'd rather have that racist opinion, challenge that racist opinion.
Well, I think
sit here and write on my computer screen and force, let's say, for example, they were right. Davison was a sexist and a racist. Is it going to help us and challenge his views that you've just taken him off Twitter?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't do anything. You're not
debate.
You're not debating his idea. You're not shutting him down at an intellectual level, which is really easy to do with somebody that is racist and sexist.
Exactly.
I think going back to what you were saying as well about diversity of opinion, I think Voltaire summed it up best with the line, I completely disagree with what you say, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's what I agree with. I really do. Or words to that effect. But I agree. If these people were actual racists and sexists and what have you, it would be so easy to argue them down. It would be ridiculously easy because they'd be arguing from a point of view that could be so easily contravened by big events in history, big events in the past. There's so much evidence to contravene racist and sexist points of view. So why don't you do it? Is it because you're wrong? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because one of the things I'd say, like, with what they do is they just, like, they take a group and they paint them with a brush. They just say that, you know, like, so a couple of people have been racist, so you're all racist. But it's so two-sided, because obviously what social justice warriors are trying to say is, you know, oh, well, you can't, you know, paint all women with the same brush. They need diverse opportunities because they can be what they want. But then, on the flip
That's exactly what they do.
That's exactly what they're doing. On the flip hand, if you're a woman and then, you know, you're a Doctor Who fan and a couple of Doctor Who fans have been racist, you're then a racist. Well, that makes no sense. It
doesn't make any sense. You're absolutely right. Anyway, I think we've pretty much come to the end of this, haven't we? I think it's a good time to wrap it up now at 3 o'clock. Unless you've got any more you want to say, Chris.
No, I'm happy to go to, like, closing remarks and stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, I agree, because I think we're just sort of looping around the same points now, so I think it's a good way to end this now with some closing remarks. So, yeah, we've been Fleur and Scurr, and I've actually really enjoyed doing this. I mean, we've had a few technical hitches with our voices dropping out at different times in the stream, but
yeah, we have.
It's our first time doing this, so bear with us. I think we've got it pretty much set now. I've worked out my settings on my encoder now, so the next stream will be a lot better. Do you want to introduce the next stream? What the next topic will be, Chris? If you want.
You want me to introduce what the next topic is going to be?
Well, yes.
Oh, thank you. I get the nice honour. Can I just quickly say before that as well, like, I've really enjoyed doing this, and please come back and watch it. Like, I've enjoyed, you know, talking about this, and we'll see you again soon. But anyway, next time is Corbyn's U-turn on tuition
fees.
Which is going to be an interesting one, because I do feel like, although it might not seem it, and we have agreed on a lot, we are quite diverse, so clearly, like, some of my opinions on social justice warriors you wouldn't associate with the left, but I am quite a big Corbyn fan, and that's because I'm not going to subscribe myself up to saying I position here on a spectrum. I just like to go with what I think sounds right, taking individual arguments by merit, and I also just believe I believe in free speech, and I think social justice warriors challenge that. But like I said, I've really enjoyed this, and can't wait for the next one.
I think it's going to be brilliant. I think Corbyn on tuition fees is going to be really interesting, because obviously you're a lot more left-wing than I am. Chris probably, like, I'm definitely further right.
Yeah.
In terms of my experience anyway, and I think if you like this kind of content, if you like these political discussions, like I know we've discussed Doctor Who quite heavily in this one, but I think we've focused on the politics, and that's what the channel will be focused on. We did Doctor Who basically because we're both big Doctor Who fans, essentially.
Yes.
So we thought it'd be a good fun first video to do. But yeah, sorry about the technical hitches, and I hope you'll return and watch us again. So when are we thinking of doing it, Chris? Next week, perhaps?
Yeah, next week sometime.
Yeah, next week if we can fit it in. We'll keep everything updated if we can, and tell people that are interested, and obviously share it on our relative social media pages. So thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.